He was still laughing when James walked through the kitchen door. That is the image I keep returning to. My brother Marcus, head tilted back, wine glass in hand, 31 years of older sibling confidence arranged across his face like a man who has never once been wrong about anything. And then the shift. The way his laughter didn't stop all at once but sort of dissolved, one note at a time, as James crossed the dining room floor toward our table and said, "Ms. Reena, is everything to your satisfaction this evening?" The table went very quiet. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you are listening from. My name is Reena Calloway. I am 29 years old. And the restaurant my brother was laughing in, the one where he had just announced to 7 members of my family that I was, and I am quoting him directly, still broke and pretending otherwise, has my signature on the ownership papers. Has had it for 14 months. Nobody at that table knew. That was entirely intentional. I need to explain something about my family before I explain the restaurant, because one makes no sense without the other. We grew up in a household where money was discussed the way some families discuss religion. Constantly, anxiously, and with tremendous weight attached to who had it and who did not. My father built a modest contracting business. My mother managed the books. Marcus, 11 years older than me, absorbed the family's financial anxiety and converted it into ambition the way certain people do. Loudly, visibly, with regular updates on his own progress delivered at every gathering like quarterly reports. He bought a house at 28. He made partner at his firm at 31. He married someone whose family had a beach property, which he mentioned approximately once per season. Every milestone was noted, catalogued, and subtly positioned against the achievements of everyone else in the room. I was, in Marcus's accounting, perpetually behind. I had not bought property. I had not made partner anywhere because I did not work at the kind of place that had partners. I worked in hospitality, first as a server, then as a floor manager, then as a consultant for struggling restaurant groups, which is the kind of job that sounds vague until you understand what it actually involves, which is walking into businesses that are hemorrhaging money and turning them around before they collapse. I was good at it. Quietly, consistently, unremarkably good at it. Marcus called it working in food service at family dinners. My mother would correct him gently. He would nod and immediately return to discussing his own news. 14 months ago, a restaurant came across my desk that was not a client. It was a listing. A beautiful space in the kind of neighborhood that was 3 years away from being exactly where everyone wanted to be. Good bones, poor management, a loyal local following that had been slowly eroded by inconsistency. The owner was tired and ready to sell below market. I had been saving for 6 years. I had been watching for the right opportunity for 2. I made an offer on a Tuesday. It was accepted by Thursday. I told no one in my family. Not because I was ashamed. Because I had spent 29 years watching Marcus reframe every good thing I did into a footnote in his own story. And I wanted, just once, to have something that was entirely mine before he got his hands on the narrative. I hired James as general manager. I kept my name off the website. I let the restaurant speak for itself. It had been speaking quite well. We were fully booked most weekends within 8 months. A local food writer had called the room quietly exceptional. Reservations were running 3 weeks out. Marcus had been trying to get a table for 2 months. He had not connected the name. The family dinner was my mother's idea. She had been asking me to bring everyone together for the better part of a year, and when I finally suggested the restaurant, she was delighted. I made the reservation under her name. I told James we would have a private table. I did not tell him why. We arrived at 7. The room was warm, full, exactly as I had designed it to be. Soft lighting, good acoustics, the kind of atmosphere that makes people feel they have discovered something rather than been directed to it. My mother touched the back of a chair when she sat down and said, "Oh, this is lovely," and I felt something in my chest expand quietly. Marcus arrived 12 minutes late with his wife Candace and immediately assessed the room the way he assesses everything. For status, for signal, for where it placed him on whatever invisible hierarchy he was maintaining that evening. He approved, I could tell. He ordered confidently. He complimented the bread. For 40 minutes it was a genuinely pleasant dinner. Then my cousin Priya asked me how work was going. I said it was going well. I said I had been busy. I said I was happy with how things were developing. Marcus set down his fork. "Reena," he said in the particular tone he uses when he is about to be helpful, "you don't have to be vague. We're family." I said I wasn't being vague. "You've been in the same place for years. he said. Consulting, whatever that means. No office, no stability. He picked up his fork again, casual, like he was discussing the weather. I just wonder sometimes when you're going to make a real move. You're almost 30. I'm 29, I said. Right. He smiled. Still broke and pretending otherwise. He laughed. Candace touched his arm in the way that means she agrees but won't say so. My mother looked at her plate. Priya found something fascinating about her water glass. I said nothing. I picked up my own glass. And I caught James's eye across the room. I did not wave him over. I did not signal anything dramatic. I simply looked at him the way I do when I want him to come check on the table, which is something he does periodically anyway because he is exceptionally good at his job. He crossed the room. He addressed me first, the way staff are trained to address the person who made the reservation. Miss Calloway, he said. Is everything to your satisfaction this evening? The shift at the table was immediate. Not loud. Immediate. Marcus's laugh stopped mid-breath. His eyes moved from James to me and back to James, recalibrating. Candace straightened. Priya looked up from her water glass. Everything is perfect, James, I said. Thank you. He nodded. The kitchen wanted to send out something special for your table. Chef's compliments. That would be lovely, I said. James returned to the kitchen. A minute later, 2 servers arrived with an additional course, unhurried and precise, the way I had trained the entire front-of-house team to move. Marcus watched all of it. When the servers left, he looked at me across the table. Something in his expression had shifted, not collapsed, Marcus was too composed for that, but rearranged like furniture that had been moved slightly and now made the room feel different without anyone being able to say exactly why. How does the manager know your name? He said. I took a slow sip of water. Because I own the restaurant, Marcus. The silence that followed was the quietest our family had been at a dinner table in my entire memory. I did not explain myself at length. I did not list the financials or describe the acquisition or detail the 14 months of work that had gone into making that room what it was. I answered the questions my mother asked, which were warm and genuine and slightly tearful in the way she gets when she is proud and surprised simultaneously. Marcus asked 2 questions. The first was how long I had owned it. The second was why I hadn't told anyone. I told him the truth simply. I wanted to build it first, I said, before it became part of someone else's story. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once and picked up his fork and said the food was excellent, which coming from Marcus was the closest thing to an apology I was likely to receive. It was enough. Not because I needed his approval. I had stopped needing that. Somewhere around the 3rd year of building a career he kept summarizing in a single dismissive phrase. It was enough because I had sat at that table in my restaurant and let the work speak for itself. And for the first time in 29 years, Marcus had nothing to add. The bread was good. The room was full. The reservation list for the following weekend was already closed. I finished my dinner and said very little for the rest of the evening. I have found, in general, that the quietest people in the room are usually the ones with the most to say. They are also most often the ones who no longer feel the need to say it,